God's whisper in a leaf? What if every plant carried a secret, not written in letters, but woven into roots and fragrance? A whisper from God: I see you. I provide for you. I am here. Welcome to Sacred Herb Secrets, where we explore creation not as an accident, but as a carefully prepared gift. Herbs are more than kitchen flavors. They are living parables, signs of God's foresight and love, hidden in the soil long before we knew we would need them. Take rosemary. At first glance, it is nothing spectacular. A small evergreen shrub with needle-like leaves, maybe on your windowsill, maybe in a Mediterranean garden. You've passed it 100 times without noticing. But then one day, while cooking something simple, you reach for a sprig. You rub it between your fingers. A fragrance rises sharp, warm, a little wild, and without meaning to, you stop. Not because your food is ready, but because your soul is. Something in the scent makes time slow down. You breathe deep. Your thoughts quiet. For a moment you feel awake, alive, seen. That is rosemary's secret. A plant that arrests your hurry, calls you back to yourself, and maybe, just maybe, carries a whisper from the one who made it. You are not forgotten. You are remembered. You are loved. More than a kitchen herb, there's an old saying: for every illness, God caused a herb to grow. Not by accident, not as a backup plan, but as foresight. Out of love. Rosemary has carried this message through centuries. In ancient Greece, it was treated as sacred. Students would weave rosemary into garlands and wear them while studying, convinced that its fragrance sharpened memory and helped the mind stay focused. The Romans, too, cherished it. At weddings, brides and grooms carried sprigs of rosemary as a sign of loyalty and lasting love. At funerals, mourners laid rosemary on the graves of their loved ones as a promise of remembrance that those who had passed would never be forgotten. In the quiet courtyards of medieval monasteries, rosemary was planted along stone paths and in cloister gardens. The great abbess Hildegard of Bingen described it as a herb that makes the heart cheerful, believing it lifted both body and spirit. And beyond the walls of the monastery, in villages and homes, rosemary became part of daily life, brewed as tea to ease fatigue, infused into oils to soothe tired muscles, burned as incense to cleanse the air. Even today, rosemary continues this legacy. It is still used to stimulate circulation, strengthen the heart, ease digestion, calm the nerves, and refresh the mind. As oil, it relaxes muscles. As tea, it restores energy. As fragrance, it clears away the fog. Not a miracle cure, not superstition, but a reminder, an echo of the wisdom God planted into creation, waiting for us to discover. When healing needs help, as powerful and healing as God's creation is, it is not a replacement for medical care, especially when your symptoms do not improve. There is an old truth, often whispered through generations. God has created a herb for every disease. And yes, nature holds deep wisdom. But sometimes he chooses to bring healing through human hands, through doctors' knowledge and care. A reminder that faith and medicine do not stand opposed. They work together, both held in God's hands. So if your pain lingers on or even grows, do not wait. Seek out a good doctor, and trust that God can meet you there too. He is greater than any system, and healing has many paths. When you really take time with rosemary, it becomes clear that it carries more than fragrance. There is something about the way it stays green, no matter the season, that feels like a quiet promise. While other plants fade in the winter cold, rosemary holds on, steady and alive. It is almost as if it is reminding us, faithfulness does not have to come and go. Some things are strong enough to last, and then you notice where it grows, often in soil that looks too dry, too hard, too poor for life. Yet there it is, rooted and resilient. It does not shout about its strength. It simply endures. It seems to say, even in difficult ground, life can still push through. Even when conditions are far from ideal, there is still a way to remain standing. If you watch how it reaches toward the sun, you see another layer of its story. Rosemary leans into the light, and the more light it receives, the stronger it grows. Without light, the plant weakens. With light, it thrives. And is that not true for us as well? We become what we lean toward. In shadow we shrink, but in light, especially in God's light, we come alive again. Its fragrance is part of the mystery, too. The moment you crush a sprig, the air shifts. The sharp, clean scent cuts through whatever heaviness lingers around you. It is like a gentle nudge. Breathe, clear your head, remember what matters. Even its taste carries the same message. Strong and warming, it brings depth to the simplest meal, proof that even ordinary things can hold richness when they are touched by love. And rosemary does not keep all this to itself. Its blossoms draw bees, feeding them with nectar. Life gathers around it, sustained by what it gives away. There is a beauty in that. A plant that flourishes not only for itself, but for the sake of others. So perhaps rosemary is more than a herb on your windowsill. Perhaps it is a quiet parable about faithfulness that endures, resilience in hard places, the pull of light, the gift of clarity, and the joy of becoming a source of life for others. A simple shrub, whispering in its own way, "You are remembered, you are valued, you are loved." A garden encounter. Imagine yourself walking slowly through an old monastery garden. The stone walls rise around you, softened by ivy and thyme. Sunlight falls gently across the path, warm and golden, painting the ground with shifting patterns. The air carries a kind of silence that does not feel empty but alive, as if every breath is filled with memory. You are not in a hurry. Your steps grow slower, as though the garden itself is asking you to linger. And then you see it, a rosemary bush growing quietly against the wall. It is not tall, not grand, but it is steady. Its green needles catch the light. Its blossoms move gently in the breeze, as if listening to something beyond your hearing. You reach out, let your fingers brush the branches, and at once the fragrance rises, sharp, earthy, unmistakable. You breathe it in, and for a moment the noise inside you grows quiet. The heaviness you carried seems to lift just a little, and in that stillness it feels as if rosemary itself begins to speak, not in words but in presence. "See what I have made for you," the silence seems to say. "This plant is not an accident. Its fragrance to clear your mind, its strength to remind you of resilience, its greenness to show you what endures. It is one small sign of a larger care. You are seen, you are provided for. You are loved. The longer you stand, the more the plant becomes a teacher. Its evergreen branches tell of faithfulness that does not fade. Its roots in rocky soil remind you that life can endure in hard places. Its longing for light becomes a parable of the soul, and its fragrance clears the air as if creation itself were praying with you. Even the bees that hover around its blossoms seem part of the story. Life drawn to life, nourished by what is freely given. And suddenly you realize, perhaps rosemary was never only about memory or medicine. Perhaps it was always about remembrance of something deeper, that God Himself has not forgotten you. Just as the plant remains green through every season, His love holds steady. Just as it thrives in light, so you are invited to lean into His presence. Just as it keeps its fragrance even when cut, the gifts He has placed in you do not disappear when life wounds you. Sometimes the answer to prayer does not come as thunder from heaven, but in the quiet presence of a herb growing by a garden wall. Sometimes the reminder you long for is not written in the sky, but held in the fragrance of rosemary, waiting for you to notice, to breathe, to remember.